image like no other, inspiring decades of research and debate. The Shroud of Turin, that's a piece of history, and it has an ongoing puzzle for science.
The Shroud of Turin, one of the most controversial religious relics in history, has ignited intense debates for centuries, even within the Catholic Church itself. Skeptics have long dismissed it as a medieval forgery, especially after carbon dating tests suggested it originated 800 to 1,000 years after the time of Christ. But new evidence has surfaced, casting fresh doubt on those results. In a shocking twist, a member of the original research team has openly challenged the accuracy of the carbon dating tests, claiming the process was flawed and the results unreliable. Adding to the mystery, the raw data from these tests were kept hidden from the public for an astonishing 27 years. Whispers of financial incentives allegedly given to the testing laboratories have only fueled suspicions. Was there a deliberate effort to maintain the narrative that the Shroud is nothing more than a medieval hoax? This raises an even bigger question. Could powerful institutions have a vested interest in keeping the truth about the Shroud of Turin hidden? Since 1578, the Shroud has been carefully preserved in the Royal Chapel of the Cathedral of San Giovanni Battista, measuring 4.3 meters in length and 1.1 meters in width. It is an impressive artifact, but what makes it truly fascinating are the faint brownish images imprinted on its surface. Those who gaze upon the cloth see the haunting outline of a gaunt figure with sunken eyes, an image of a man standing about 5 feet 7 inches tall. The Shroud appears to have captured the final moments of a life, with one half showing the body laid out lengthwise, while the other half folds over to cover the front from head to toe. But that's not all. The markings on the Shroud eerily resemble wounds consistent with crucifixion, the very injuries believed to have been suffered by Jesus Christ himself. Could this relic be a true witness to history, or is there more to the story than we've been led to believe? Faint thorn marks can be seen on the head, as if a crown of thorns had been cruelly pressed into place. Deep lacerations cover the back, telling the story of a brutal flogging, while bruises on the shoulders hint at the weight of a heavy burden once carried. But perhaps the most striking detail is the presence of stains, believed to be blood, scattered across the fabric. Many have whispered that these stains are sacred reminders of the ultimate sacrifice made for humanity. Despite the deep reverence surrounding the Shroud, the Catholic Church has never officially declared it to be an authentic relic. Instead, it regards it as an icon of Christian devotion, a powerful symbol of faith and the suffering of Christ. While millions of pilgrims view it as a representation of the passion and death of Jesus, the Church remains neutral on its authenticity. Since the late 19th century, scholars have tirelessly examined the Shroud, using scientific methods to uncover its true origins. In 1898, a fascinating discovery emerged. When experts photographed the cloth, they noticed that the sepia-toned images imprinted on its surface were not traditional depictions, but photographic negatives. This revelation deepened the mystery even further. In 1988, the Vatican sought to finally determine the Shroud's age through carbon-14 dating. 3 independent laboratories, located in different countries, were given small fabric samples no larger than a postage stamp to analyze. To everyone's surprise, all 3 reached the same conclusion. The cloth was woven sometime between 1260 and 1390, seemingly confirming that it was a medieval creation rather than a relic from Christ's time. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Despite the carbon dating results, no scientist has been able to explain how the image on the Shroud was formed. The markings eerily resemble a photographic negative of a man with wounds consistent with those suffered during crucifixion. While experts can confidently assert that the fabric itself does not date back to the time of Christ, they remain unable to explain what created this haunting image. For over a century, researchers have studied the shroud determined to uncover the truth. Yet even with today's most advanced technology, no one has successfully replicated the mysterious image. However, scientific progress has gradually revealed new findings that continue to support the case for the shroud's authenticity. One key figure in this ongoing investigation is Barry Schwartz, a member of the original research team and the official photographer for the Shroud of Turin research project, his team's primary mission, to uncover the secret behind how this enigmatic image came to exist in the first place. At the time, Barry Schwartz was a non-practicing Jew with serious doubts about the authenticity of the shroud. Initially, he was reluctant to join the research team, assuming the image was nothing more than an elaborate painting. However, as they meticulously examined the fabric, he encountered one of the shroud's most perplexing mysteries, one that continues to fascinate researchers even today. Using a specialized instrument designed for X-ray analysis, Schwartz and his team studied the shroud's image in a way never done before. This device could stretch the lights and darks of an image into a three-dimensional form based on their density. Normally, this process would create a distorted image. But with the shroud, something remarkable happened. A natural three-dimensional relief of a human figure emerged. This discovery revealed a key detail: the brightness and darkness of the image directly correlated with the distance between the cloth and the body. According to Schwartz, the only reasonable explanation for this phenomenon was some kind of interaction between the fabric and the figure it once covered. This ruled out the possibility of it being a mere painting or photograph, as traditional artwork does not contain the same kind of encoded spatial information. The team then searched for any evidence of paint pigments or binding agents that would indicate an artificial creation of the image, but found nothing. Instead, they discovered that the image was formed by yellowed, discolored fibers. The varying darkness of different areas wasn't caused by any applied substance, but was solely due to differences in fiber concentration. Simply put, there was no trace of external materials that could explain how the image had been made. Despite these findings, a radiocarbon dating test conducted a decade later concluded that the shroud was not from Christ's time, but Schwartz remained skeptical, pointing out a troubling detail. Obtaining the raw data from the British Museum, which supervised the tests, took a staggering 27 years under the Freedom of Information Act. The three laboratories responsible for the radiocarbon dating of the shroud took an unusually long time, 27 years, to release the raw data. In scientific research, such a delay is highly irregular. Typically, scientists publish their findings in journals and share their raw data so that other researchers can verify or expand upon their work as part of the standard scientific method. Once the long-awaited data was finally made public, it revealed why there had been such hesitation in releasing it. The analysis showed that the sample taken from the shroud was inhomogeneous, meaning the strip they tested had one date at one end and a date several hundred years later at the other. This meant that no single point on the sample could accurately represent the age of the entire cloth. Even more concerning was the fact that the researchers failed to take control samples from other areas of the shroud, an essential step for reliable carbon dating. Further investigations revealed another startling discovery. The area where the sample was taken contained interwoven cotton fibers, which should not have been present according to Jewish burial customs. Particularly under the law known as the mixing of the kinds, it was forbidden to blend wool with cotton or cotton with linen. A burial shroud for someone of high status should have been made entirely of pure linen. The presence of cotton fibers suggested that this section had undergone reweaving or repair, meaning the radiocarbon tests were conducted on a later edition rather than the original cloth. This made it impossible to determine the true age of the entire shroud. Suspicions about the research grew when the test results were leaked before their official publication, declaring the shroud to be of medieval origin. The controversy deepened when it was revealed that the British Museum, which oversaw the study, and particularly the Oxford Laboratory, one of the 3 labs involved, received a substantial £1 million donation from anonymous sources. The catch? This donation came with the explicit intent of debunking the shroud's authenticity. This raises an important question. Were there powerful interests determined to discredit the relic? Beyond radiocarbon dating, blood chemistry analysis has provided additional insights into the shroud. The bloodstains found on the fabric were identified as type AB, a rare blood type in the general population, but more common among Jewish individuals. Even more astonishing was the unusually vivid red color of the blood, something that typically fades over time. Experts believe this could indicate extreme trauma and suffering experienced by the individual wrapped in the shroud. The bloodstains on the arms further supported the theory of crucifixion, as the angle of the blood flow perfectly matched what would be expected from a crucified victim. Upon closer examination, researchers discovered a unique combination of travertine, aragonite, and Jerusalem limestone embedded in the dirt found on the shroud. This type of limestone matches the one found in Jesus' tombs in Jerusalem, adding another intriguing layer to the mystery. Additionally, analysis of the fabric revealed 49 different types of pollen, with 33 species native to Palestine and 3 found only in Jerusalem, one of which is believed to be linked to the infamous crown of thorns. Modern wide-angle X-ray scattering technology has also allowed researchers to conduct a more accurate and reliable dating of the fabric. Further examination of the eyes of the man depicted on the shroud uncovered faint traces of ancient coins that were used specifically in Jewish burials during the 1st century and matched those issued by Pontius Pilate at that time. Another remarkable detail is the size of the shroud, which closely aligns with an ancient unit of measurement, 2 times 8 cubits. Additionally, a 3-inch wide side strip was found to be stitched using a rare technique exclusive to Palestine in the 1st century, further strengthening its historical connection. For centuries, artistic depictions of the crucifixion have typically shown nails being driven through the palms. However, archaeological discoveries now confirm that Roman crucifixions involved nails being driven through the wrists, exactly as depicted on the shroud. The puncture wounds around the head perfectly match the shape of thorns, closely aligning with biblical descriptions of the crown of thorns. Meanwhile, abrasions on the shoulders suggest the individual carried a rough, heavy object, possibly a cross, stumbling and falling along the way. Further details add to the eerie authenticity of the shroud's image. Facial wounds, including damage to the nose, suggest a severe beating or a fall onto hard ground. The wound on the side, roughly 2 inches wide and elliptical in shape, bears a striking resemblance to an injury caused by a Roman spear. Perhaps the most remarkable discovery is the reverse image on the shroud, which reveals a clear separation of blood and serum, a phenomenon that occurs when a person dies from a deep wound. This striking resemblance to the biblical accounts in John's Gospel only deepens the mystery surrounding the shroud. Each of these extraordinary details weaves together the story of a single man, an account that mirrors the life and suffering of Jesus Christ. But the discoveries don't stop there. Researchers have also uncovered something even more astonishing, inscriptions hidden within the fabric that defy explanation. Beneath and beside the chin, 3 distinct lines of text appear, written with remarkable clarity. How were these inscriptions deciphered? Scientists meticulously divided high-resolution photographs of the shroud into tiny squares and used advanced visualization techniques to analyze their optical properties. Among those who studied the markings was Barbara Frail, a Vatican researcher who employed computer-enhanced images to reveal faint inscriptions in Greek, Latin, and Aramaic. Her analysis uncovered a particularly compelling detail, the words, "Jesus of Nazareth," written in Greek. According to Frail, this discovery rules out the possibility that the text originated in medieval times. No Christian forger from that era would have dared mention Jesus without acknowledging his divinity, as doing so would have risked being labeled a heretic. To further verify her findings, Frail extracted the inscriptions from the enhanced photos and presented them to linguistic experts. Their conclusion? The writing style closely resembles that of the Middle East in the 1st century, the very era in which Jesus lived. This revelation leads to one of the most perplexing questions of all. How did the image appear on the fabric in the first place? Over the years, scientists have put forward countless theories to explain its formation. In 2002, Ray Rogers, a scientist from the Los Alamos National Laboratory, proposed a purely chemical explanation for the mysterious imprint. He suggested that a mild heat source, perhaps around 40 degrees Celsius, could have caused a chemical reaction on the surface of the fibers. If the body had experienced hypothermia or dehydration before death, it might have produced just enough heat to discolor the sugary carbohydrate compounds present in the fabric. According to Rogers, this phenomenon does not require a miracle. A scientific reaction could explain the image. While this theory provides a logical approach, it doesn't fully resolve the shroud's enduring mystery. There's little concrete evidence to support this theory in the specific case. After all, such an effect has never been observed on other funeral shrouds. Another hypothesis suggests that the discoloration of the fibers was caused by a chemical reaction with a substance emitted from the body. In the early 1900s, French biologist Paul Vignon proposed that this substance might have been produced by the breakdown of urea in sweat. However, this theory has a major flaw. The resulting image would have been too blurry to match the sharp details seen on the shroud. Then, in 1982, biophysicist John Del Salvo offered an alternative explanation. Perhaps the substance was lactic acid from sweat. This theory is based on a known phenomenon, the Volkringer effect, where plant leaves pressed between the pages of a book for years leave behind dark negative images as the substances in the leaf react with the paper fibers. While intriguing, these explanations still fall short of fully accounting for the mysterious image. But one theory stands out from the rest. Researcher John Jackson concluded that the only explanation that fits the evidence is vacuum UV radiation. For a fabric like linen to capture an image with such astonishing precision, light radiation would be necessary, but with a crucial condition. There could be no accompanying heat. Now, here's where things get even more fascinating. To produce the mysterious image on the shroud, scientists estimate that it would have required an unimaginable burst of energy, several billion watts of light radiation. That's an amount of power so vast that it surpasses anything known to exist in modern UV radiation sources. If there had been any heat energy alongside this radiation, the delicate fibers of the cloth would have instantly vaporized, not in seconds, not even in milliseconds, but in an inconceivably brief moment, less than 140 billionths of a second. To put this in perspective, such an event would demand a level of power greater than the total electrical energy output of our entire planet. Think about that. Even with all the technological advancements we have today, we are nowhere near replicating such an effect. This leads us to a profound question. Could this be evidence of something beyond human understanding? Could the Shroud of Turin bear the miraculous imprint of Jesus Christ's resurrection? The Shroud, a mystery that science cannot solve. Since its discovery, scientists, historians, and theologians have spent decades studying the Shroud, searching for definitive answers. Yet the deeper they delve into its mysteries, the more questions arise. Let's consider the historical significance. The first known record of the shroud dates back to the 14th century when it surfaced in France. However, many believe that this sacred relic existed long before then, possibly hidden away for protection. Some scholars trace its origins back to the early centuries of Christianity, suggesting that the Knights Templar safeguarded it during the Middle Ages. Others claim that it was once known as the image of Edessa, a sacred relic in the Byzantine Empire, described in ancient texts as a miraculous cloth bearing the face of Christ. But what about the science? Despite extensive research, modern technology has failed to replicate the image on the shroud. Every attempt to artificially recreate it using heat, paint, or other known processes has fallen short. No artist, no forger, no scientific method has been able to fully explain how it was made. Even the controversial carbon-14 dating of the fabric, which suggested a medieval origin, has been widely challenged. Evidence suggests that the samples used in the tests were taken from an area of the shroud that had been repaired in the Middle Ages with newer material, meaning the true age of the cloth remains uncertain